Welcome back to Math Concepts. We are going to continue our work in logic, discussing conditional statements. In a previous video, we talked about the concept of two statements being equivalent, and that means it's basically two different ways to say the same thing. In this video, we are going to discuss a way to change a conditional statement of the form P implies Q into a new statement that involves OR, but that new statement is going to be logically equivalent to the first one. And that will give us a lot of flexibility when we're doing operations with conditional statements. We can replace it with the equivalent statement that involves OR. So let's go over to the document camera and look at a couple of examples. So the key idea for this video is being able to write a conditional statement using an equivalent OR form. Maybe I'll put that in quotes. Okay, so here's my claim. The statements P implies Q, or if P then Q, is equivalent to this statement, not P or Q. And to understand why, we'll look at the truth table for each one. So here we've got the truth table for the conditional statement, if P then Q. And over here we're going to write the truth table for not P or Q. So this column will be based on the truth values of the statement P. Okay, whatever truth value P has, this will have the opposite truth value. And this will just be the straight truth values for Q. And now we'll apply the OR operator. Now remember, the OR operator gives us an output of true if at least one of the inputs is true. So here I got one true, so the output is true. I don't have any trues, so the output is false. Both are true, output true. One is true, the output is true. Okay, now I want you to compare this column right here to this right here. Okay, so these two, as we can see, have the exact same truth values. So these are equivalent statements. So that means if we have a conditional, we can, if we want, replace it with not P or Q. So let's look at some examples where that might be useful. Okay, so here I've got some statements written out in words, and we will write these statements using their equivalent OR form. The fancy word for a statement that involves OR is a disjunction. So the kind of official way to say this is we are writing each conditional statement in its equivalent disjunctive form. Okay, so right now this is of the form if P then Q, where P is I don't move to Georgia, and Q is I will live in Houston. All right, now the equivalent to the conditional is not P or Q. So I move to Georgia, or I will live in Houston. Okay, notice the statement P had don't in it, so if I negate that, the don't goes away. I don't move to Georgia, the negation of that is I move to Georgia. All right, so this statement that I've written right here is logically equivalent to this one up here. Okay. If the number is divisible by 2, then it is even. Okay, so we're talking about something of the form P implies Q once again, if P then Q. P is the number is divisible by 2. Q, it is even. So the equivalent disjunctive form, not P or Q, the number isn't divisible by 2, or it is even. Okay, the number isn't divisible by 2, or it is even. And let's do one last one. If the fog does not lift, our flight will be canceled. Okay, tell you what, I'm just going to jump to the punchline right here. This is my statement P, and this over here is my statement Q. So P is the fog does not lift. Q is the flight will be canceled. Not P or Q. That would be the fog lifts, or our flight will be canceled. Okay, so this one you can hopefully clearly see that they are in fact logically equivalent. Okay, if the fog does not lift, then the flight will be canceled. So these are your two options. Either the fog lifts or we have to cancel the flight. Okay, so this disjunctive form, or this or form, is very useful when we are doing operations that involve these conditional statements. And we'll see in our next video that when you negate a conditional statement, it is best to put it in this equivalent disjunctive form.